Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode 157 of the Audible Farm podcast, and this episode's brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa. It's my favorite coffee. If you don't believe me, just try it for yourself and figure it out. It's available online at www.couchtowncoffee.com. You find a coffee you like, you make an order, they ship it right to your house. It's roasted within days of your order. It's super amazing. So it's like I said, it's my favorite coffee. I drink it every morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes at night. It's easily my favorite coffee I've ever had in my entire life. So check it out. One of the other cool things about it is you can save 20%. All you got to do is go to couchtowncoffee.com, and when you find a coffee you like, you make your order and you tell them Audible Farm sent you, boom, 20% off. It's that easy. Why? Because Couchtown Coffee is that awesome. This episode, I'm sitting down with Clint Riedel. Clint's been on the podcast before. If you don't know his backstory, I guess go to any of the other episodes he's been on. He's been on like 6 or 7 of them. So check it out. Singer-songwriter, folk musician, great guy, lots of stories. You can find him pretty much anywhere in the northern Iowa area. Starting to expand, play shows outside of there. I went and saw him in Des Moines not too long ago, so that was pretty cool. And, it's kind of fun. He invited me up, and I played a couple tunes with him on stage. So hats off to you, Clint, for inviting me on stage to soak up some of your stage time. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Like I said, if you want to check him out, he's all over northern Iowa and starting to get down into central and eastern Iowa. And I know he's played Minnesota and other places too. So pretty cool stuff. Check it out. Like I said, there's plenty of other Clint Riedel content. If you like this episode, if this is the first one of his you've heard, go back and listen to some of the other ones. There's plenty of them there. So, yes, episode 157 with Clint Riedel.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Today I'm sitting down with Clint Riedel. Clint, you've been on the podcast maybe like 7 times already. I don't know.
Awesome.
You're pretty much the go-to guy for somebody to sit down and talk to on kind of an off week. So I'm sitting down talking with you here. Last weekend was it'd be 2 weekends ago now. It would have been Rockin' Picnic. I remember seeing you at that. That was pretty awesome. I think that was your second time being there?
Yeah, Scott Dahl came out to the jam in Barnum that I talk about every time on this podcast, but
yeah.
he was watching me play, and he takes me outside and gives me a Scott Dahl compliment. He's like, "Hey man, we don't let people play twice, like not 2 times in a row at the Rockin' Picnic, but we'll give you a half hour." I was like, "Oh,
nice.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
right on." So that's how that worked out, and then thought I had a gig that night, but I wasn't sure what time I was going to play, so I passed that on to my buddy Jesse Wilson. So you were over at a wedding.
Yep.
And yeah, that was just a weekend full of music. One of my music idols, Brian Johannesson from Iowa City, was playing over at legendary Byron's as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm wearing a hat. My little lady was nice enough to get for me.
That's
and
cool.
A signed record. And I already had the record, and I've been wearing that out. But it's always nice to have something to remind you of your idol, but I was fighting anxiety that day, so I didn't even walk inside.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it comes with territory.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So Rockin' Picnic was a pretty good time. Jesse and I also played at the Rockin' Picnic a little bit later in the day than you did, but it was, it's also
you guys killed it too. The sound guy, I forget his name. Is it Mike?
Mike Wiedemann, I think is who it is.
Oh,
yeah.
He was nailing it.
That's good.
You guys sounded like we were sitting around the spool just giving our friends a listen, and you and Jesse were, for a 2-piece, you know how hard it is to stand out with just 2 guitars. Like, hey, everybody, listen up, 2 guitars.
Yeah, especially when it's 2 acoustic guitars.
Exactly.
It feels like they just blend in with one another. It's so tough to get them to sound different. And whatever he was doing, I even said that to Jesse, like, man, my acoustic guitar never sounded better. I don't know if it was the monitors or what he did to him, but it sounded amazing, coming through the speakers when it did. So hats off to him for running sound.
Yeah, that whole weekend went awesome. Were you there for Brutal the night before?
I was not. I had to play a gig the night before, unfortunately.
Right on. Yeah, that's downfall of live music. You only get to play while everyone else is playing.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably one of my least favorite parts. I discussed it a tiny bit on the last podcast, but it does suck when you're like, I want to catch my buddies playing at this show, and then it's like, oh nope, got a gig booked. But at the same time, like when you go play the gig, you're
You're all in.
Yeah, you're in the moment. It's not like you're there the whole time just being like, oh, I wonder what Brutal's doing, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's you'd kind of just immerse yourself in it. I always say, like, I kind of forget everything that's bothering me for the day, and it just kind of time just
For real. You
goes
look
away.
at your watch and you're like, oh, well, that explains why I have to pee. I've been up here for an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Jesse and I recently played a show, and that's what I was telling him. I was like, it's so crazy. We got done playing, and it's like it didn't even feel like the time went by. We were at the Moose Lodge in Fort Dodge, and I mean, it was just a 3-hour show, but it just seemed like a blink and it was gone. And if it was like 2 hours or 2 or 3 years ago, excuse me, if somebody asked me, like, hey, do you think you could play a 4-hour show? I'd be like, not a chance. Like, not a chance.
Well, the genre, too. Can you imagine how sore your fingers and arms would be just from playing, like, speed? Like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like punk and, like,
Yeah.
metal and fast stuff like that, like hard rock. It would be
Yeah, for
rough.
4 hours straight. Like, hats off to Jeremy Ober, because the Brutal shows, like, that last, set and a half is just, like, Caleb Ferry's got to be, like, numb.
Oh, yeah, drummers. I feel for drummers all the time. It's so sad. Like... There's a reason that like most of them like don't have a shirt on, or they're like wearing like shorts and it's like super cold, because they're just sweating like crazy, just dumping buckets. Even if you're playing like slower stuff, I still am just like, how do you guys do this?
Oh yeah, and stage, like, not necessarily stage anxiety, but your nerves are high. You came there to please people, so you think about it and that adds up. Next thing you know, you're sweating out your pits. You're like, good choice of t-shirt today. It's light blue.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, yeah. I always go with like a super dark color or a super light color just to try to hide it. So
That is good information to pass on to young musicians.
Yeah,
dress appropriately.
Don't wear
no khakis.
No, definitely don't wear khakis. I've seen some unfortunate situations with khakis.
Oh, I've been in them. Just like, oh, it's a nice day. I'm gonna look like spring chicken, and no.
Yeah, if it's too hot out, you're just gonna sweat it out, and it's that's one of those like weird advice things nobody passes along. You got to figure it out for yourself, either by like watching somebody else make the mistake or you making it yourself. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, Rockin' Picnic though went off without a hitch. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. Like I said, that weekend I ended up doing 3 shows, and it was a lot. 2 shows in one day, and just traveling all over the place and playing music for everyone. It's kind of crazy. I'm getting a taste of what it's like to be you, I guess. It would be like,
it's a fun life.
It is pretty wild, I mean, it's fun because like we went into so many different situations. It's like private party, public festival, and then wedding reception. So it was like, just like
you gotta have a versatile set.
Yeah, it was a weird amalgam of stuff going on.
Speaking of versatile sets, I remember like Deb, Scott's wife, being in the back, and Brad Hofing was on stage with me there, and he was like, so he could pay attention to what was going on. I was the one who had to remember the words and say them out loud, and he was just struts over playing bass, and he's like, they're worried about what you're going to say next. And I was like, oh, don't worry, it'll be PG-13 or whatever. And you could just hear Deb like, good. So that was pretty awesome. I think I'm probably the closest to being censored, other than my buddy Eli Nets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess he went into some Sturgill Simpson, one of my favorite artists. But, yeah, he's pretty well blunt.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the other thing. Like, you got to kind of tailor what you're going to do for the show you're going to do it at. And that takes some artistry in and of itself, to, I guess, like, pick the right songs for, if you're just going to do a half an hour set somewhere, or as opposed to playing 4 hours in a bar, or like, oh, we got to go to this festival, it's family friendly, or we're going to go to this wedding reception, wedding reception can't really, play too much crazy stuff at a wedding reception. You got to kind of keep it.
I'm going to deal with that this Saturday, actually. I'm playing the Wine Stomp, the fall festival over at Soldier Creek.
Okay.
And I think I play for 3 hours. And then my buddy J. Jeffrey Meserol, Jordan, he's up after me. And I'm not sure if Lone Tree finishes the night, but it's all day, And then,
crazy.
So I'm playing 11 to 2. And then I'm packing up after I watched my buddy play, and then running off to Ackley to play a wedding at a campground. So
Oh, wow.
I don't know what kind of environment I'm walking into, but here we go. You know, you just read the room and go.
Yeah, yeah. You gonna wear that shirt to the wine?
Oh, I probably should.
Good.
Soldier Creek, shout out.
Yeah, he's got a shirt with a dinosaur on it, but he's holding a bottle and a glass, and it says Winosaur.
Poor little guy. Could you imagine
Oh,
if it was
goody.
accurate? He couldn't even drink it because he's got tiny arms.
Tiny arms, probably can't even get it up there. Well, that one looks like he might be able to reach it.
Oh, it's like my buddies. Shit, we're all musicians and all these offshoots. The Day Drinkers, their logo. I got a sticker, and unfortunately, Jordan ran out of shirts before I got one. But the Day Drinker logo is like a skeleton of a tyrannosaur. Oh, goody two shoes. There's my gato. She's been on every podcast, by the way. She
Yeah,
just
she's
doesn't
been on a
always
lot of
speak up.
these. Yep. Oh, you might have been able to hear that meow earlier.
Oh, side note, she's got the cancer. She's got cancer on her face.
That's a sad deal.
Smells horrible, but she's fine.
Yeah, she's not quite on camera. She's just below the camera shot, but
Come here, baby.
yeah.
But yeah, the Rockin' Picnic was worth it. I took the whole weekend off just so I could hang out and listen to music and be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a really fun time. Like, I almost missed the days when I didn't have anything else going on, and I could just spend the whole day at the Rockin' Picnic or the night before too. Because, like I said, on the Scott Dahl podcast, that like the night before is like the sleeper show. It's the one that like people forget about, and it's usually really awesome. So. Yeah, I mean, if you missed it this year, it'll be here next year. It's going to be here for a while. I'm fairly certain it's quite a fun event. People are very receptive to it. The town takes to it. You know, people come in from other towns.
And
to
it's all
come to
donation
it.
is what blows me away. I'm sure they get a little like sponsorship, but as far as I know, like it's past the bucket and keep this thing going. And
Yeah.
they seem to.
Yeah, like the only sponsorship they really end up like getting from a lot of people is to just kind of like keep the event going. I guess like it is. I know that like sometimes there's like donated meat or donated like items to, you know, like, oh, we need to cook all this meat. Like, here's a giant grill. I've got one. You can use it kind of deal. So there's
Yep.
a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on. But yeah, for the most part, it's like crowdfunded, crowdsourced. Everyone just kind of, you buy a shirt, you get a free will donation with the food, you know, just it's free to come. You can just sit there and drink your own beverages and enjoy the music if you want to too. But yeah, I mean, everything is just kind of that. Plus they have an auction where people donate items to the auction. Like, I had painted a guitar last year and that sold. I didn't stick around for the auction this year. Were you there?
No, I didn't see the auction, but that was another pretty guitar. That one you did the year before was amazing. I think that brought like $2,700, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain the person that bought it donated it back and somebody else rebought it.
Ooh, that's the way to do it,
That's
though.
how it
Yep.
got, you know, that
Keep
much.
kicking it up. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really sweet, you know. So, I mean, that's really cool that people would end up doing things like that, you know, especially just for the sake of local music. Because for the most part, the Rockin' Picnic is like local musicians. Like, rarely will they bring in people from out of state. Sometimes they will, but
Yeah, but they're not trying to like find a band on their way through and be like, "Oh, we've got this big name band." It's like, no, you know, they're just like us, guys getting by playing music to pay the bills.
Yep, that's pretty much what it is. And there goes Goody out the door.
Oh, what a gem!
Or out the window, anyways.
Going to do cat stuff.
Cat stuff, yep. So yeah, I mean, Rockin' Picnic, good time. You know, it was a busy weekend, and then the following Tuesday, because that's Labor Day, so everyone kind of like recouped on Monday after playing shows all weekend. Because you know that's a 3-day weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's 3-night shows.
I'm still trying to figure out what day it is because I was like, I played on a Sunday. That means it was a Friday. So
Yep.
today is Wednesday.
Yep, you run into that stuff because instead of just playing Friday, Saturday, you can play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you know all that stuff kind of throws it all off. And then Tuesday night was jam night, so that was kind of a weird one because we showed up and I was there and you were there and Owen was there and it was just kind of like us for a little while, kind of just farting around, like not really doing much because it was just us and there wasn't many people there. And my buddy Clint drove up from Des Moines to come play some drums and he was there. And you know, it was just kind of one of those weird nights for a while where it's like, is anybody going to show up to this tonight? Or, you know?
And next thing you know, door opens up with like stud talent, you know?
Yep.
Ron Lee King, Jeremy Ober, Carson, Emily, Fernando, just everybody was there. We had a ton of drummers, which is a rarity, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty wild that, like, it seems like there's usually a shortage of some sort when it comes to the drummers. But this last week there was like a pile of them, including my buddy who drove up from
Yeah,
Des
no
Moines.
doubt.
You know,
Then I got to meet him a little bit better. Him and his wife over at my show. Chris Anderson invited me along.
Yep.
Man, see, the list goes on. All we do is hang out with musicians.
it was pretty wild. You know, that was something that kind of blew me away. Where it's like Chris Anderson listened to a podcast I did with a metal person from Des Moines. I believe it was Cody Benton. I did an episode with. And he listened to that one and then hit me up and was like, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. And I listened to his music, got him on the podcast. He came up to a jam night. And it was like, this is wild, you know? Like, this guy, like, listens to the podcast, finds the jam night organically, comes up.
And he's so fitting when he gets here. Not that everyone does fit around here.
Yeah,
but
everyone's welcome.
But he's like, hey, man, well, let's share a show. Come down to Des Moines. I said, gladly. So
yeah.
played Boggs Whole Avenue Tap. Is it still Boggs? Is that right?
Yep, Boggs. Yeah, I think it was just called the Whole, or Whole Avenue Tavern, but Jason Boggs owns it now. Which, there's 2 Jason Boggs. If anybody's listening to this in the music scene and you're like, oh, Jason Boggs, that's cool. I didn't know he owned, it might be a different Jason Boggs, so just double check your facts on that one. P.S. Yeah, I want both of those guys on the podcast. I think it'd be funny to put them back to back, or just to like kind of throw everyone off. Like, wait, is there a repeat episode, or what's going on?
Are they both in the music scene too?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yep. Yeah. One plays blues and one plays rock. 2 different areas, and I know some people that know both. So it's kind of funny to know that. I'm trying to I made a joke once about how I'm like collecting people with the same name on my Facebook because I'm starting to run across people with the same name as somebody else, like in the music scene from like across the state. It's like, this is kind of weird, like
that's the benefit of having a overly mispronounced last name. No one else has it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's Riedel, by the way, not Riedel.
Yeah. That's a funny one. I hear people like almost mispronounce your first name sometimes. They're like, it's Clinton Riedel, and it's just like, wait, what? Like, you're so close, but not quite.
Oh man, yeah, it's been butchered ever since anyone ever tried to pronounce it over a microphone. Like Clint Riedel on the tackle.
Yep.
Makes me proud. Must be a real community member at this point.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I just kept going into your adulthood.
Yeah, no doubt.
And, I used to be at shows sometimes and I'd hear people mispronounce it and I'd be like, I'm going to correct them. And then after a couple times, it was just like, nah, I look like a dick correcting them. And then on top of that, like, at least they know.
Well, I just let them go with it. There's still people out there that hire me and they're like, man, it's so good to see it. But when it comes time to writing a check, they write it like it sounds. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry for listening to this. Sheena, she's another music lover in the area, and she's my bank teller. So, yeah, I just scratched that out and put Riedel on it. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a rough one, like getting the check for like a name that's like either mispronounced or hard to spell.
They used to sign it over to the Blue Ribbon Ramblers when we'd do our shows, and it's like, we don't have a band account.
Yeah, there's no you can't cash that to anybody,
No, the band account is the gas tank.
Yeah, that's kind of a rough one too, because like unless you like LLC your band and then like you said have like a band account for it, like that'd be a rough one to deal with. And that's why every band has like a band purse instead. It's just like, oh, here's like an envelope we put a couple 20s in. Like
me and Ober were talking, and he was like, yeah, I just which another good thing to mention is his Reforge initiative with scholarship for. Well, everything, not just music, but so anyway, him and the boys just throw all the tips in his guitar case, like into the account, and at the end of the year, that's quite a bit of money. They play a bunch of shows, bunch of tips. He was like, well, I looked at it, it's been a couple months, it's pretty busy summer, and he just kept throwing it in the little pocket in the guitar case, wadding it up, and he's like, man, I reached in there and there was like $1,500.
That's nice.
Yeah, so people are supporting.
Unbeknownst to them, they're donating to what's actually a really good cause.
No doubt.
Like you said, those scholarships, if I can remember correctly, I think it's one's music, one's art, one's business, and one's nursing, and I think they're adding a new one maybe. If I remember correctly, I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what it is, though.
And Ron down at River Hops, he's more than accommodating. I think it's the 3rd year in a row, or since they've been open. They hold the big old party, the Reforge Initiative, over at River Hops there in town.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, I'm wearing one of them right now, but I made some new Audible Farm shirts, and I sold a couple at the show, and then before you know it, everyone's like, I want one, I want one, you know. So I sold a bunch. All the money I made, I just threw it back at Jeremy. It was like, whatever. This is what I would have, profited off of these. So you can just have
Have
them.
you explained to anybody on your podcast yet where the logo like stems from?
No, not like I don't think I've explicitly said.
It's awesome,
I usually
'cause
just
it took
reference
me-
to it.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure out why I liked it, and it looked so familiar. And then you were like, "Well, you remember NWO?" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yep, I do."
So I guess
Uh-huh.
they're the cat's out of the bag.
Yep.
If
Ah,
anybody
it looks
like
great.
doesn't watch or hasn't seen it yet, those are what the new shirts are. They're NWO style. So.
I don't have any new stickers yet, and I got a brand new guitar case. So.
Yeah, I'll get you some new stickers for that after this for
Thank
sure. We'll
you.
get your guitar case stickered up for sure. But yeah, I mean, like I was thinking about that with like the jam night. It's kind of crazy that like, Clint Wheelman, I guess, like from Des Moines, he came up. He, like I said, he plays drums with Three Finger Betty as well. He used to play with Dark Mirror. He plays with the Sleepover, and he's played with a whole bunch of different bands, including bands from like St. Louis and stuff. So he's like a well-seasoned drummer, in rock and metal and punk and everything like that. So it was kind of fun to have him up here. And it's not like he can't play any of this stuff. It's just not something he plays. So it was kind of fun to have him come up and change his style a little bit and play along with you.
It's fun to get out of your wheelhouse. They say that's how growth occurs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, that was like a big change for me coming up here because it was like, oh man, if anything, I know like punk and metal and blues, and like that was it. And so I had to like come over here and try and figure out how I could fit in with what everyone here was doing, singer-songwriter style.
And I think that just like adds to your voice. Like you're bringing that background into like, well, now I'm playing, like a song about drunken handstands and broken toes, and it's just 3 chords and the truth. How do I make this, like, how do I add to this? And you can definitely hear your background in it. Like everyone's got a different voice if Jordan plays on it or Jeremy Ober, but I love that everyone has their own unique voice. You can hear it around here in the local scene. Like, we'll be standing outside smoking cigarettes at the jam, and all of a sudden you hear the music start up, and you're like, oh, well, that's Emily Johnson,
Yeah.
And,
I think it's one of my favorite things when you hang out outside and somebody's just like, who's that up there? And it's like, well, we're cracking the door open, and then the door just gets peeled open.
yeah, because you never know who's drumming, and Owen might actually take a break. God bless his heart, he's there for the whole long run. I think if we started at 4 in the morning and went until 3 a.m., he wouldn't put his bass down.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things. Like if you just showed up there at 4 in the afternoon and started, he'd be there. I mean that kid's all about it. And even when he'll like record stuff and then just be like, "This is something I played earlier today. Check it out. It's Victor Wooten on the bass." It's like you're playing Victor Wooten on the bass, and then he's like,
"You should be studying your driver's test."
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although I will have to say, one of my secret favorite things about playing shows with Jesse out of town is giving Owen a ride. It's just like,
oh, I can't imagine those conversations.
It's so fun. The kid's amazing. Yeah, just amazing at the bass and everything else.
Oh,
involved,
and if you're listening, Owen, everybody loves you. I was standing outside with Nando this past week at the jam, and you came out and said something smart alecky, and we all love you, and laughed because it was witty as all get out. And then you go inside, and Fernando looks at me, and he was serious, and he goes, "We need to take care of him." And I'm like, yeah, man, don't let the world affect this kid.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because, there's a dark side to this stuff. It's nightlife, and you're going to see some things that you're not proud of.
Yeah.
Like,
I think Owen's got the ability to let all that roll off of like water off a duck's butt, though, because
but
I'll
I
just
like
see
the
something.
camaraderie that Fernando was like, we need to take care of, like, everybody in this building needs to, like, look out for Owen throughout his life, because what a good kid.
Yeah, I mean, we say that until he, I think it's only a matter of time before that kid really applies himself and becomes world famous. I mean, that's.
Oh, I agree.
I'm not trying to say like that's how good he is, but
no, it's a fact.
It's more than likely a fact. I don't think he'll be here forever. So
Yep.
maybe there'll be a time come when he's got to be like, oh man, I got to take care of all those guys that I jammed with back at Barnum.
Send me $20 every month, Owen. I'm requesting it now.
Oh, it's hilarious. Oh god, that's so funny. Yeah, I love going to the jam nights, running into people. Like that's where I met Owen. I met you for the first time doing a podcast, and then I went to a jam night like a couple weeks later. So like one of the first maybe like 20 episodes I did, you were in there, and that was like when I started doing, going to jam nights and stuff with you. So I think maybe I played a show with you at Patty's.
Yeah, we were the house band, and it was awkward as shit.
Yeah, I think that that was one where I was the house band and you came up with Brad, and if I'm not mistaken, I think like Scott Dahl played drums, and I don't remember who else was on leads, but it was like, oh, this is nuts. I've my first taste of like playing with somebody else, as opposed to just going all by myself. But
And there's all this conglomerate of styles. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's another thing that's fun about jam nights is you never know what's going to happen. Because I mean, like you come up here on some jam nights and it's mostly singer songwriter, it's folksy, it's country, it's that kind of stuff. And then other nights, like you come up here and there's people like Jonah, that new kid that's been coming.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like now we're getting into like jazz fusion, And
Yeah,
it's
there was a breakdown there for about I don't know, 25 minutes of just bass guitar, drum, and like I'll say it out loud. Jazz is not my thing, but that was just amazing to watch. Maybe jazz would be my thing if I saw it live, but
yeah.
But just putting on a record, no thank you. But watching it last Tuesday, I was like, okay, I can see why people do this.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, because I think Nando just yelled out some time signature or something, and no one just kind of gave him one of those, unspoken, I understand completely, let's go here. And yeah, that was a delight.
Yeah, I mean, like that's another fun thing about jamming with Owen is he likes playing music so much that he will just constantly change stuff to make it fun for you. So like it's like let's jam. We always jam in E minor, so let's jam in like A sharp. And it's just like, what? Like, why would you pick A sharp? It's just such a weird thing. He's like, nobody plays an A sharp. And it's like, okay. Like,
is there a reason? No, it works here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. So you do that. Then out of nowhere, he's just like, now go to the B. And it's like, we're going to go from A sharp to B. That's not going to sound good. And then like, it actually kind of does when everybody shifts on the same part. And it's like, oh, okay. Like,
and to watch all these phenoms' fingers, like, chicken picking, Ronley, like to
Ronley.
watch his pinky and his ring finger just doing double time while he's still picking. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah, that's some wild stuff. Somebody asked me like after jam night, can you start learning some chicken picking? That'd be cool. And I'm like, yeah, I mean I've tried. It's not like it's just overnight easy.
I'll just pick that up this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I'm definitely Owen and Ronley. I can just like next time you see me, I'll be good at it. But
I do gotta mention Nate from Bootleggers. He's doing a good thing down there. Local music every Friday. Throwing some Saturdays in there. I just picked up a couple of gigs from him. And word to the wise musicians, I did a little bartering. So I needed 4 tires for my new van, my little battle wagon. And I called Nate and I was like, hey man, we've been doing this, long enough. You want to sign up some more gigs? And he's like, of course. So we got our calendars out and I was like, well, I'm putting on some tires. If you just want to pay me ahead of time, I'll go pay for those tires and down the road I go. So he did, bless his heart. So I wanted to bring that up. That's how supportive of, not only are we friends, but he's like, this is a business. You're going to come play. I'm going to pay you to play.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to try it.
You never know. You can make buddies with somebody and end up, kind of getting prepaid to do stuff to kind of help each other out or whatever. And that's another thing. It never hurts to ask,
Oh, yeah. You make your way. Be a good person.
Yeah, I mean that goes for just about everything. It's never, it shouldn't ever be awkward to ask for help ever, from anyone for anything. So like,
that's sound advice.
Whether or not it's like, I need a gig booked, or I need some help doing homework, or I need some et cetera, et cetera. Go to work, you need some help,
Sure.
So you should never feel stupid asking.
I love that Jeremy Ober lives in Barnum now. In town, he's 2 whole blocks away. But I call him like. He had a flat tire had a gig up around Superior, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, man, want to give me a ride? Sure. Just nice conversation, helping a buddy out. And then, I'll leave a car in town because I'm very smart about my drinking and driving. So I'll say, hey, Jeremy, you going into town tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, I'll see you around 2. So go and pick up my car like a legal citizen would. And, yeah, just the camaraderie of all this is all stemmed from just playing a guitar.
Yeah, I just never thought in a million years I'd like make such good friends with people that I just play music with,
No doubt. Shared interest, though, goes a real long way.
It's not like every single one of us are best friends with every single one of us.
No, yeah.
But it's also not like some of us, like I said on a recent podcast, there is some people don't necessarily care for other people, but it's not like people dislike each other to the point where they're just like, I hope this guy doesn't do good playing music, or what, like.
Oh yeah, I never wish them bad with their musical career, but I hope they find a pothole that isn't, like fall and break a face or something.
Oh my God, I don't know. I guess I just don't have any like malice towards anyone anymore.
Oh,
even
God,
the people that bother me, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. That guy and I just don't get along, and that's the end of the story.
Oh,
And,
for sure. I'm a dirty hippie. I wore shoes for the podcast, though.
Oh yeah, well, shoes meaning sandals, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, they might be on camera. Ew, there they are, definitely. Yeah, for anybody that's watching this, there's a very small, very very small amount of people watching this. Been debating whether or not to launch a new show of some sort on the Patreon channel to kind of get people to maybe try and sign up for it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you and I have been kicking around ideas for that here today, so maybe that'll end up coming out. Maybe or not.
We can do top 3 questions.
Yeah, we
ask
could.
every interviewee from this point on those 3 questions and see how they respond.
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about doing something like that. I guess if anybody's got any like good questions they think they'd like to hear everyone answer, one question that everyone has to answer on the podcast, I guess I'd shoot it my way, drop it in a comment box or email me or send me a message and say, hey, I think everyone should answer this question, because we've already got a few written down. I don't know if we should let them out of the bag yet, but just hit me up if you think you got one.
Is Caleb Ferry's chops real?
Oh, man, I don't think they are real. Those things are majestic.
I know it. That's a well-groomed man.
Yeah, I mean, it must suck, every photo that gets taken of him, he's got to have somebody Photoshop him in there.
I love you, Caleb.
Oh, man, yeah, he is a good guy. Where did I see him recently? I mean, he was at a jam night like a month or so ago, but I saw
He's been so busy with Corey Waller. Well, just more names of, musicians that we all know and love. Just and the Wicked Things. They've been hauling ass all summer.
Yeah, it's another rough one, trying to get in touch with him and have him back on the podcast now that he's switched gears into a new thing. But they've been playing tons of shows this summer. And I mean, a lot of us have been playing a lot of shows this summer. I don't know if
there's so much meat on the table. Like, nobody's got to worry about, like, you're not even going to be able to grab enough gigs to be offended that your friends are working,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's enough out there that we can all play if we want to at any point.
Yeah.
That's how much support for local live music there is in Iowa, which is probably surprising to anyone listening out of state.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, like, nobody here is just like, I can't believe that person's playing Sneakers this week. Boo, I should have been playing. No, I've never once in my life heard anybody up here say anything like that.
No, I was just talking to Molly. I was like, so I think, like, and Holly is so good down at Sneakers. She's just got a rotation keeping people alive, keeping us in food.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I think I play like the first or second Wednesday of every month, it seems like. And so I was going to send her out a message, and I think she just sent me one, said, are you busy? So, Yep, never fails. Just, nobody gets any animosity built up about somebody's success, which is the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say it's like that other places, but I've definitely seen inklings of that in certain areas, in different music scenes when I've hung out with different people. And like I said, it's not like it's super prevalent, but
to put that into context, I bet there is like a little less meat on the plate for like metal artists. There's only so many venues that can host, a full-on metal band.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like you're going to be playing coffee shops and stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to fill in at a brewery all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah, true.
So
true.
Honestly, that might be if there is any built up, like, not hatred or jealousy, but if there's some pissed off feelings, I imagine it's because it's a smaller plate.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that, because I mean, doing the singer-songwriter, Americana, country, blues, folk, like all that kind of stuff, somebody with an acoustic kind of stuff. I mean, you're I feel like, yeah, you definitely would have a wider variety of places you could play at, because you could play venues as well as playing coffee shops, wineries,
even straight up cover bands
bars.
have a hard time. It's not even just the fact that it's metal,
Yep.
I love Riddled with Class. Love those guys.
Yep.
Jake, Greg, how are you guys? Anyway, they've got such a production, like, that's hard to wedge into a small venue.
Yep.
Even if they love the music, you just can't fit everywhere.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, they do play wineries. They have. But it's also like, it's kind of like a gear shift for the winery, though, too. Because, they're so used to having, like, the acoustic duo up there or whatever,
I saw them at Gilmore City at the Limestone Cafe. And they were in, like, by the cafe part and playing out. And I was like, man, this is the coolest thing for pictures right now. It reminded me of like Bowling for Soup's videos where they would,
Oh yeah.
but it was just, they can fit everywhere. I take that back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely have. They've played a lot of shows, and they're fairly busy this summer too. For being, they're changing a few things up, and everyone in their band is doing life stuff, and not that we're
babies are getting born.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Not that we're not
Congratulations.
doing life stuff, but whatever. I mean, we're all still trying to figure out what exactly we're doing here. I mean, I just changed jobs and trying to get my whole schedule like reworked out. It's
This is a Sunday. You have to get up in the morning. And
It's
do
not
adult stuff.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a thing. It's not like it's super late, but that was definitely something on my mind. I was like, man, I never used to think about how late it's going to be, but now I have to. So, but that's another thing where like the short period of time this year where I wasn't working, I was playing music, and I had like a way to like at least make some money while I was doing it. So
That's totally how we figured out this like friendship. Honestly, was the downtime. It was
Yeah.
midnight, sitting around playing guitars and talking about the world.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of guitar playing that gets done around here, and that was like another thing was like playing around like either at jam nights with you or like here in your living room. It was just kind of like you never made me feel like bad about my talents or whatever. So like while I was still trying to figure everything out, you were still just kind of like cool,
Oh God, you already had it. You already had it licked. But yeah, I've learned a lot just sitting around listening. And watching, from all of you guys. But it goes a long ways just being around it.
Yeah, it definitely does. I saw something somebody posted it. I don't remember who. It's just some meme that's going around on Facebook, but it said something like, "Don't look at others in the music scene as your competition. Look at them as inspiration." And I was like, "Yeah, that's definitely
Very nice.
a nice way to put it." I think about that anyways. Like I've always said that like it doesn't matter who's playing the guitar. They're probably doing something that you don't or can't do on the guitar.
Yeah, does that qualify it as bad? Nope.
Yeah, or are they like so much better than you that
Oh,
you should just
that
quit?
jealousy
Yeah.
ego kicks in, and you're
No.
like, "Oh, I'm done."
No, it
You know?
shouldn't.
And I joke about it, like with you and Jeremy Ober and Jordan. Just everybody's a better guitar player than me. I have accepted this, and I don't want to learn anything else. I like my 3 chords.
Yeah, but there's stuff you can do that I can't do. For example, like you play without a pick and you do some finger picky stuff, and I'm not, I don't do any of that stuff.
I'll reference Brad Hofing again. Your left hand is what you know, and your right hand is who you are.
Yeah, your left hand is what you say, and your right hand is how you say it.
Oh, very nice.
That's another one I've heard. So, yeah, I mean that's definitely. I don't know. Just everyone's got their own style. And that's another thing that's fun about jam nights. Is it's just like, well, who's up here now? It's like this is how it's gonna go. All right, let's see what happens.
Like Eric, when he comes over, he's taking lessons from Jeremy, and he has grown freaking yards, in such a short time. It's amazing. Maybe we all should have just started. Maybe we like had a chance,
Yeah, if we started younger and kept at it.
Yep, because these guys are gonna blow us out. Well, once again, it's not a competition, but like they're gonna be phenomenal musicians here. Like by the time they're legally able to buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, they're like half our age and
Yeah.
already at least as good as we are or better.
Mm-hmm.
That was always my joke for Owen. He's half my age. He's twice as mature as I am, and he's twice as good at playing an instrument. Which there's some truth to that though. Like honestly, like
Yeah, not even self-deprecating. It's just, Owen, damn it, you're awesome.
yeah, he's got his head screwed on straight. That's for darn sure. A little absent-minded when it comes to like forgetting stuff here and there, but at the same time, like
Situational awareness.
yeah,
Him, Brad Hofing, my old lady, they're all horrible. Like if there's something to spill on a stage, Brad's gonna set like the most expensive electrical piece of equipment he has, like his mixer down, and then he's gonna kick that soda over, and it's gonna start running towards it like a Brawny commercial. And just like, you knew it was gonna happen, Brad. There's liquid.
Yeah. I remember going to a metal show once and somebody walked up on stage and they like had just an absolute pile of drinks. I don't know, 8 drinks or something like that. Somebody bought for like everyone in the band. It's these like giant pints of beverage of some sort. I don't know what it's probably beer, but like whatever beverage they bought them, and they put it up on the monitor for the drum set, which is like the monitor. If you don't know what that is, it's like a speaker next to the drum that's blasting sound at the drummer so they can hear what's going on while they're drumming. And it's this like 4-foot tall speaker, and they put all these drinks on there, and about 18 seconds later all the beers had tipped over and they're all on the floor. And it's like, Duh. Like, who couldn't have seen that coming when there's just, like, blasting 100 decibels, like, out these speakers?
I
But
just wanted to watch the water move around a little bit. Didn't know it'd knock them all on the ground.
yeah, and it was funny to watch, like, the song gets over and somebody's like, I got you beers. And everyone's like, where are the beers? And they were, like, trying to figure it out, you know? So, I don't know. Like, that happened at a show once. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was at that show with Vince Benishak, and I was like, check this out. You know, like, that's not going to last. And it just all tipped over. We just laughed and laughed and laughed, so...
Dude, I miss Vinny. I haven't seen him in a good long while.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while either, you know. I did sound for him at that one show, but he's been playing all over the place.
Yeah, I saw he was out in Montana, and I talked to him a little bit. He was like, well, I just kind of shot him a price, and they said, come on out.
Yeah, and he booked a few gigs around there, and it was they made enough money as a band to go out there, live for a few days, and then come back, and they all still made money. So it's like, wow, that's pretty wild, actually.
No,
you know,
no,
like,
that's what we're all trying to do anyway, is just, you know, spider web out. Here's home. Get out there and then go here and just hopefully make a little connection here and there.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what you do, is you just have home base here and you just stretch out a little bit, whether it be like, you know, playing down in Des Moines or Iowa City or Waterloo or wherever it is.
Because it doesn't sound like a lot, but Barnum is in the middle of nowhere. We are 3 hours from anywhere of any real, like, city value, you know. If you want to get to Minneapolis or, well, Des Moines counts, but if you want to go to Iowa City or Kansas City, you know, you're just right in the middle of nowhere. So it's dedication to get there and get back home, but the playing's the easy part.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is tough to get down to other places and play, because you have to, like, reintroduce yourself and find out where you fit in and what places you fit in with, and you might go somewhere and it's a bust, or you just don't get paid well, or you know, maybe nobody's there and you don't know you're playing. You don't know you're going to go to a bar and play to nobody.
For real.
You know, or you try and book a show with somebody else, so it's like, well, maybe they'll bring somebody, and then you never know. Like, it just might not pan out. You know.
Oh, Brian Johannesson, who I was speaking of earlier, this Iowa City artist, he's got a song out there, and one of the lyrics is, you know, it don't matter how good you think you played, but we got ASCAP, BMI, sound guy needed something, and the waitress needs a raise, and she does, you know. And it's like, yeah, when you break it down, you go on a 3-month tour and come back with $50.
Yeah.
But you're doing it for the love. Otherwise, we wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're going whole hog in the music scene and you really want to do it, you got to register all your stuff, and you got to copyright it all, then you got to pay all your dues to all these organizations like ASCAP and BMI, and then you got to go play places, and you can only play places that are going to allow you to play there, you know, based on, like, regulations and things like that. It gets a little weird once you, like, try to do the full-on professional level stuff.
That's a lot of the reason to stay around this area. There's so many supportive venues and businesses for live music that, like, once you get out of the shallows, it gets scary out in the deep end, and you're like, oh, I don't, you know, because everyone will turn and talk to, well, I'm sure you've heard it just as much as Jeremy has, or I have, like, you got to get down to Nashville, you got to play in Austin, and it's like, that would be great. There's about 800,000 guitarists, singer-songwriters in those towns. There aren't that many around here, you know, and there's only so many venues, so... Yeah, you really got to stand out to make that a prosperous living, and I don't think I'm there by any means.
Yeah, I mean, it only stands to reason. Like, you would think, like, if Fort Dodge was 10 times bigger, there'd be 10 times as many people playing music here, but then if it was 10 times bigger, would there be 10 times more places to play music, though, too?
Probably not.
You never know. So, like, that's one of those things where, like, you know, especially down there where, like, people are coming in from out of town to play music, just to, like, go back home. I mean, there's plenty of people that do that, you know, in places like Nashville and things like that. So
it's like the old cliche of the actress getting off the bus in California, who is now a waitress. You know?
I mean, it's no different than, I guess, me going down to Des Moines to play music, you know. There's already a full music scene down there, and I'm going down there to play music, you know, and I play in a band down there. So
starting to break in.
Yeah.
And I think if I would go about booking stuff a little better, it wouldn't be as hard to break into the Des Moines scene, especially with all the contacts, Chris Anderson, you know, all the venues are there and willing. I'm just a lazy schmuck and haven't reached out.
Yeah, I mean, it also comes down to finding the places that fit you the best. We talked about that a little bit before here, before the podcast, before we started recording and things like that. But I mean, like different venues might fit different people, even within like the Fort Dodge scene better down there. I mean, there might be places where Jeremy Ober would fit that you wouldn't, or
Oh,
like,
for sure.
or there might be places that you would fit that Jesse wouldn't. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you never know. It's just the way it kind of is. You know, whereas up here everyone's a little bit more accepting, where you can have everything from blues to rock to acoustic to country to folk. You know, to whatever. And people are pretty open to it. And like Bootleggers would be a good example of that. He kind of books a little bit of everything.
Oh,
And
for sure. He got Matt Woods up there,
Yeah.
and Matt's just like, if you don't like, same with Joe Price. Like, if you don't like the blues, this is going to be a long 3 hours for you because this is what you get, man. And Nate's willing to be like, I'm booking a blues band, and
Mhm.
I'm booking a country band, and just like he's willing to throw it all out there, and
Yeah.
it's rare.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like the Des Moines scene, like this is a metal bar, or
Yeah.
this is.
But he's got the clientele there, and you know that comes back to picking the places the best. Like the clientele there is pretty receptive to almost no matter who's going to walk through the door playing music. You know, some of them themselves are also musicians, whether or not they just be like basement jammers or whatever. But
Yep.
you know, because like you said, some venues tailor themselves more towards one certain thing. Like there's places in downtown Des Moines that play a lot of country stuff, you know, and there's places, you know, that
Oh, sure, and those are the places me and Jeremy aren't going to play. Well, we can play, but it's probably not going to be as well received.
yeah, and I mean, you never know. I guess have either one of you tried? You know, like I
No.
don't know, but like you never know. Maybe you go down there and people might like it, but it also comes back to you might kind of crap out though too. You know, so
Yeah, that energy wasn't there, so I gave up. And
yeah, the crowd wasn't receptive, so you weren't receptive, and you know we were talking about that with somebody recently at a show where it's kind of crazy how like you can feed off of the crowd pretty well, you know, or even like if you have like a band up there with you, you can feed off the other person if you can't feed off the crowd, which is pretty fun, you know, like
yeah, but when you're on there, like uh, so many of us are, like you're naked. This
Yep.
is what you get. I'm not covering any mistakes with sweet deep bass, and I'm not, letting the song last 8 minutes longer because I'm letting everybody play a lead, or So it's like, here you are, man.
yeah, if you're up there solo, it's a completely different monster. You know, that's a rough one because like you said, if you're playing with somebody else, it's like, well, now all my songs could be 30% longer because
for
there could be
sure.
more solos in them or whatever.
Yeah, you're only playing 40 songs in a night rather than 70.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's got to be a good feeling, but at the same time, like there's also got to be something that feels good about going up there as a solo person. You can kind of do whatever you want. Like I've only played 2 solo shows ever, and it was kind of nice to just be like, I'm going to do this now, you know. And,
Yeah, there's no one here to screw me up.
Yep.
I'm at my own will.
and there's nobody to be like, hey, you want to do this? And they're just like, no.
Yep.
You know, and like that's a rough one
man,
too. You know?
I've run into that a couple of times. Caleb.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and he's like, that song's stupid. And I'm like, I know, but he's like, I'm not gonna play that. I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
I learned pretty quickly. If that was my mindset, like I'd never play any songs. You know, I'd just play what I wanted, and then nobody would ever want to hear any of that stuff, though. You know, so sometimes you got to play what the people want, though.
Yeah, you can't give them all Mariah Carey.
No, they can't all be Mariah Carey.
No.
It's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, like playing by yourself is a rough one, and like the benefit of me, like the second show I played by myself, I used like a loop station and had a couple different guitars, so I could like
You can draw it out.
I could like loop an acoustic and sing along to it while I'm like getting an electric out, and then I could play like the electric leads over top of it, so I could elongate it all that way, manually if I really wanted to. So it was kind of fun to like do that, but that was also like a lot of stuff. I had to bring extra gear with and do all this other stuff, so it was kind of.
Sure, and it didn't buy itself either. You know?
No, it sure didn't. And one gig didn't pay for all of it either.
Yeah, those $12 pedals.
Yeah, they're all $12. Yep, exactly. And that's another thing though too is like I'm finally starting to get to a point where like all the money I've spent playing guitar is finally starting to like, oh, this is all paying off. It took 10 years, but it's all paying off. Or 5 or 6 or 7 years, but starting to actually like get some money from doing this. And granted, I'm not playing with Three Finger Betty, playing like original punk rock stuff, making all the money. Playing, country and rock and even some hip hop and
Sure.
stuff like that, with Jesse. But it still is like one of those things I've talked about on many other podcasts. When you, step outside your comfort zone, play something you're not used to playing, eventually you figure out why people do it and why they enjoy doing it, and it's way more fun to me to play the songs than it would be, I guess, to listen to the songs.
Oh, sure. Emily Johnson's a great. Like, I just last month heard Miranda Lambert's version of Tin Man, and I've heard Emily sing it, 40 times or whatever at the jam or with her bands, and I've hats off to Emily. I think her version's better, but it's a beautiful song, and I had no desire to hear the original after, hearing her do it the first time, and it only proved true.
Yeah, I mean, you people like you and I can't listen to every single song that's out there. So that's another fun thing about bringing different people in from the scene, where it's just like, you play what songs? I've never heard these songs before, Where like so much so to the first time I heard her play and sing, I was just like, oh, she wrote all these songs.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then I found out they're like, oh, like most of these are covers. I didn't know that. And then a couple of them I heard on the radio. I'm like, oh, I heard Emily do this song,
yeah,
and that's
no doubt.
exactly like you said. And that's kind of funny that you had the same experience I did, where it's just like, I didn't seek these songs out. I just randomly heard them once and was like, oh, snap, I heard somebody else do these songs before.
I didn't realize Sam Hall, Jeremy Ober, Brutal, does a great job of that song, and I was like, I love this song. Jeremy's such a badass songwriter. And then I hear a Johnny Cash album, and Sam Hall's going, and I was like, what?
No, that's crazy.
But his version is so different. Like, I wouldn't have put that together. It's just everyone's take on it.
Yeah, and Jeremy's pretty good at spinning a song just enough so it seems it seems just different enough where you're like, oh yeah, that's what this is, and you still know what it is, but it's different. So, I mean, that's also another tough thing about covering a song, is putting your own flavor on it. I think that's something that lends itself to like Jesse playing tunes, is he'll pick songs that I don't know, so it's just like purposefully. Yeah. So now I have to add my spin on it, whatever that is, and then if I go out and listen to the song, it's just like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this way different, but at the same time, it sounds different when we're doing it because we're doing it differently now, and it adds a whole different spin on it, and
it takes away that pressure of having to sound like the jukebox too. Like,
oh yeah,
that doesn't sound like them. It's like, purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another tough thing. There are those cover bands out there, and hats off to them if you want to sit down and like constantly be
note for note it.
Shaping your tone around every single thing that's happening. And those bands out there do kill it. I've seen
with time and energy.
I've seen a handful of them. And I mean, like I would say Corey Waller's band would be, to an extent, would be kind of like that.
Yeah.
Their stuff is just like, this is what's happening at these times, and they all just like absolutely slay their parts to the point where like,
and they practice to the point where they can.
Yeah, but it's still enough. They put enough of their spin on it where it's just like, oh, this is these guys doing this, So
I like his choice of song selections. Like, he's playing a Hayes Carl tune, and heard Turnpike Troubadours come through, and I was like, this is the stuff I listen to driving down the road. Right on.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, So maybe a lot of us have a lot more things in common with people we don't necessarily hang out with. Yeah, no doubt,
because I've never... Corey and I did that, Broken Strings. Mm-hmm. So we did that, Scott Kirkhart's organization, and that was the only time I've really talked to him. He said, when I was talking to him, though, he said, I talked to you once before, and I was like, I don't think so. He's like, yeah, it was at Barnum on a Tuesday. He said, you were sitting at the bar with a shot of wild turkey and a PBR in front of you. I'm like, okay, so far this all sounds accurate.
Yeah.
He's like, you looked at me after I said something about the Turnpike Troubadours, and then you mumbled something, and then went back to drinking your beer. I said, okay, yeah, I don't remember talking.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that.
No, but Tuesdays get fun. I'm a stagger away from it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to like those jam nights. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If anybody that's listening to this from not around the northern Iowa area, or even from up in the northern Iowa area, where are the other jam nights? Hit me up with the times, location, places. I want to talk to people that go to those. I want to go to them. As a matter of fact, there's an acoustic jam that is coming up. Maybe when this comes out, it will already be over. But down in Des Moines, that I think you and I might just randomly show up at because why not?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'd be kind of fun if like a handful of us just like showed up down there and just played at it.
Yeah, it's not like it's on a weekend, so you don't have to worry about overlapping your gigs.
Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing where we don't have to stay there till 2 a.m. because I got to work. But at the same time, like, you never know who you're going to run into. You never know what kind of stage time you're going to get or what all is going to happen. So, it could be fun. It could be really fun, So
yeah, you got to be willing to accept whatever comes that way. It might just be 30 minutes of you playing and getting out of there because the scene ain't yours, or it might be,
Yeah.
holy cow, I've just met somebody I might end up pick up being like my tuba player.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, and that's some of my favorite parts about going to those is I've run into so many different people, either interviewed them on the podcast or got to play shows with them. Like you, I've played a handful of shows with you
For
here
sure.
and there. Even at the show that you played with Chris Anderson recently, like it was after I had a band rehearsal and I had a guitar and an amp in my car, and you were like, "Bring it up," and so I brought it up, and you and I played together, and then you and I played with Chris Anderson and his lead
Yeah.
guitarist. Which
I think we all floored that. It wasn't a full room or anything, but the people that were there, fellow musicians, they just started like sending me friend requests and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I recognize you."
Yep.
But yeah, fellow musicians I didn't know were all sitting in the crowd just watching our show, and they seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, I was talking about it on a recent podcast about like trading solos with somebody, where like me and the other guitarist started doing that, like, in just the two songs that we played together. So it's kind of cool that like,
Allman Brothers.
yeah,
Yep.
started like trading off the solos back and forth. It's just really fun to go up there and be able to play with people like that. And I never thought in a million years I'd be able to go do something like that. I mean,
You just kick a door open with your amp and guitar and be like, "Yeah, let's go."
yeah, let's start playing. Yeah, it's in the car. So now maybe I'll have to just start bringing it everywhere I go. I don't know.
I'd never leave home without a guitar.
That's probably a good call. That's no different. There was like an old thing where like professional wrestlers were never supposed to leave their house without a duffel bag with their gear in it.
Yeah. How are you gonna make money without your gear?
You never know. You never know, because you might show up somewhere and they're like, "We need you. Get up there." And what are you gonna do if you don't have your tights? Wrestle in your jeans?
What if we were hanging out at Woolies and I saw Hayes Carl there, and I'm gonna go watch Todd Snyder, another legends to me. And what if they were just like, "Hey man, we need somebody that can play a guitar. So and so is sick." You're like, "I'm that dude." And to have the confidence and the actual ability to pull that off,
That would be cool.
That's got to be a good feeling. You can actually do that. Walk into those rooms and pull that off.
Yeah, I mean that would be fun to be able to pull something off like that. But and that's just another thing about like branching out, getting to know people, and then they know that you can play. And so many people did it for Jesse to the point where like they would bring him up where it's like, we're going to take an intermission, but Jesse's going to play a couple of acoustic songs.
Oh,
And that's
sure.
kind of how he
Yeah.
got his start. So much so to the fact now where when he plays shows, if he sees somebody in the crowd that plays an instrument, he says, "You want to come up and play a song or two with us?" And I mean, I'll drop my guitar. Like Owen will loan somebody a bass. We'll swap out the drummers for a song. We'll bring in a second singer and do duets.
I remember I was at the Afterlife in Algona, and I was watching Jason Surratt, and that's when he was with, oh man, I forget. It was more of his rockabilly country band. Gosh, I forget. But anyway, I was watching his set, and it was amazing. He's like, "I'm going to take a break." And I was like, "Well, I got this girl with me, and I could play guitar now, kind of. I wasn't really out there doing it, per se, but just that level of confidence to like, okay, I can pick this up at any moment and do what I'm supposed to do with it is a pretty good feeling."
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I walked up, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I play that?" And he's like, "No, go for it." And ever since then, I do the same thing, like with Jesse, I was just like, "Hey man, this is my buddy Jesse Wilson. He's starting out.
Yeah.
I'm taking a set break. You get up there and do it, kid."
Yeah, I mean, hats off to you guys for letting people do that. I mean, you guys did that to me here at Jam Night, where it was just like, "Oh, get up here and play." It's like not like you're gonna wreck anything. So
Yeah, no doubt. Just recently in Iowa Falls, there was this, we'll say, gypsy lady walking around. Because she's not homeless, she's home free. But
okay,
so she's just playing this beat up guitar. Like the action on it is horrible. You can't really hear it, and what you can hear is out of tune. And I had just bought this Martin like 2 days before, and I'm playing it at this gig. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to take a break real quick." And she was very respectful. She was singing along with songs she recognized, but she'd never played her guitar while I was playing or anything. She set that down in the corner, and I was like, "Hey, lady, why don't you get up there?" And so she grabs her beat up guitar and stands up there and starts singing and playing. I was like, no, just play this. And she's like, "I can't." Like, "Yeah, you can. You're not going to do anything wrong." And so got done, and she's like, "That's the first time I ever performed like electrified in front of an audience." She's
oh
like,
wow,
she'd sit around, and wow her friends, because she obviously knew what she was doing. She was a great singer, guitar player like me, 3 chords, easy peasy. But yeah, she had entertained all her friends from God only knows how far,
that's
But,
crazy.
Yep. So to give that opportunity and to see like their reaction when they're done is more than worth it.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean those kind of stories are. It's super crazy when you can like pull people in from the crowd and kind of invite them into doing what you're doing in some fashion or another, or play along with them and.
Oh, but on a side note, those guys who walk up and they're like, "Let me play your guitar,"
Yeah, yeah.
or
There's some of that too.
or the
Though, to be
people in the
weary
crowd that are like, "Let her sing," and it's like, "All right, get up here."
I'm always, if somebody's like, I want to sing this, I've got a backup microphone, and I'm not a great singer, so I would just point it at them like, you want in on this? You come up here. Like,
90% of the time, it's a train wreck too, because they're just drunk enough to be like, "I could do that," and then you give them the opportunity, and it's like, I don't know. I've kicked a cat once on accident, and it sounded so much better than half the people singing.
just throwing this out there. I do now when I play like full band with Jesse, hook up an auto-tune pedal for just situations
Oh
like that.
no, you let them fail. That's what you do. Yeah.
No, somebody could come up and honk some stuff out, and you'll still be in key with what's going on. So
cheaters.
no, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna let everyone go home feeling like $1,000,000.
All right, I didn't look at it that way.
Yep. So I'm gonna let everybody come up there and be a hero.
Like, did you hear that? Did you hear what Aunt Nancy did?
She sang so good. It's like,
she forgot most of the words, but when she remembered them,
yeah, man, it was right on. It was right on.
That's another thing. It's not karaoke, so like when they get up there, they're like, "Oh, hold on, I got to bring it up on my phone." I'm like, "You already lost me, kid."
Yeah. I mean, I've been to shows like that before where people come up and they bring up the words on their phone, and that's fun too, though. I mean, like,
if they need it, they need it. It's not like this is their job by any means.
Yeah, and even then, like, memorizing words is not something. I mean, memorizing song lyrics was never something I was super good at anyway.
I will say this out loud and not feel bad about it. I feel like anytime I go to a show and I see like an iPad holder on like the lead singer's mic stand, I'm like, ugh, man, this is our job. They're paying us good money. I hope you're getting good money anyway. And maybe we should know our craft. It's like having a chord chart beside a guitar player. I feel like having the words in front of a singer is just not fair.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can see where you're coming from.
It lessens the experience. It's like, I can see that every Friday down at Lulu's because she's got a karaoke machine in her garage.
But is that you saying that as a musician, or what do you think the lay person thinks? Do you think they care one way or the other?
They probably don't understand what it is, to be honest. Like, maybe it adjusts. Well, and then, like, Caleb Ferry's got one, but he's in charge of the mixer, and he runs it off of that iPad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the layperson probably doesn't understand what's going on with that. Like, it took me forever to realize even professionals, like, their monitors, some of them have TVs on the back with words scrolling.
Yep. Yeah, some I've actually seen some places where they have what they call monitor boxes, and it looks like you have a monitor in front of you, and it's not a monitor. It's literally just a screen. And so, like, you're decoying the fact that you have a monitor, but you're just using, like, in-ears or something instead.
Word.
So, I mean, like, I do feel for those people. I've played shows with. Okay, here's this crazy. One of the shows I played that was a solo show. I played with music stand and sheets of music in front of me.
I started with sheets of music in front of me, but I felt that was even a little too cheesy. Like, it's kind of cool when you have to flip the pages and stuff, like you're sitting there with somebody conducting this orchestra. But at the same time, I feel like any musician worth his salt would be like, learn the words, kid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is some of that too, but at the same time, like, I don't know. It just comes back down to, like, memorizing all that stuff is just not my forte. Especially if, like, all I'm playing is open chords and singing along to something. I was talking to Clint.
Well,
Wheelman
instrumentation
about that,
is so much different. Like, symphonies have sheet music in front of them for a reason. It's so intricate, but words are words. Remember the story?
Yeah, well, maybe some people key in on music, like, more than the words, though, too.
True. Brad Hofing listens to the production of sound more than he catches the lyrics. We talked about that, and he's like, okay, you're going to think this is cheesy, but just listen to the production value of this Shania Twain album. And I was like, all right. So, on the way to gigs like you and Owen, it's just some of the oddest conversations come up, and you learn so much about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brad, stop wearing female underwear while you drive your truck.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I found that out about Owen, though, too. Like, Owen and I both listen to a lot of instrumental music. So, like, maybe that's something why, like, I don't necessarily key in on lyrics as much as everyone else does.
Yeah, you guys have a different ear.
Just listening to the instruments and what's happening. But, it's some of that other stuff is like Jesse will play shows and people will just be like, "Can you play this song?" And Jesse's like, "All right, I know how that song goes, but I don't know the chords." So he'll like pull it up on his phone and be like, "Here's the chords," and then he'll give it a whirl.
Sure.
So
yeah,
like,
yeah. You're just appeasing the crowd at that point. I get that.
Yeah. So there is some of that though too, but like that is kind of fun when Jesse will pull that out when somebody's just like, "Can you play this George Strait song?" And it's just, I'm just like, "I don't know, ask Jesse." Jesse's like, "Let's look it up," and he's like, "We can do this."
Yeah, to work on the fly is fun, no doubt.
Tons of fun. It is tons of fun. So, yeah, I guess like to each their own. That's like one of the fun things about music is anybody can do it any way they want to. Like I'm sure everyone has their own thing about music that like really kind of bugs them. That's some people in the scene do or whatever.
Yeah, like find me one person who truly likes EDM.
Well, I know. I mean, I know a few people.
Nate.
I guess, but
yeah. He'll be giving me a ride around, like, "Hey man, just hanging out for a while. You want to hear this?" And just starts playing like the meanest house music you've ever heard. And I'm like, Nate? Really?
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna tell you what he told me, and I don't know if it's a joke or if it's because he's somebody that's always full of jokes. So like he's like, "I do it this way because if I'm ever taking somebody with me in the car, they won't sing along to it horribly." And I was like, "That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life."
You never got to worry about that, Nate. I'm not gonna sing along.
You can't sing along to EDM,
No.
But that's like if you're putting in like some of your favorite music, and people are just like horribly singing along to whatever you
I'm gonna ruin this.
just ruining John Prine for you or something. You're just like, never again. We're just gonna put on some EDM and just cruise down the road.
Got some bass, don't it? Yep, sure do.
Yeah, you might as well just get an AC adapter and turn a blender on in the back seat or something. Okay, so yeah, I do kind of feel you on the EDM thing, but there are people that like it, and I really liked techno growing up though too. So.
Like Chemical, what was those Chemical Brothers or whatever back in the day?
Yeah, there was those. Yeah, I think that was one of them. God, what was?
Yeah, because some of it like it didn't make the pop charts or anything, but it became popular enough to where I would hear it. Like I'm not searching that music out, but
yeah, Daft Punk being like the obvious one everyone knows about, but
yeah, I'm also old. So.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's another. I'm old enough to remember like Moby being a thing.
I loved Moby.
Yeah,
now that you mentioned that,
and
and Gwen Stefani.
Yeah, and there's people that are just like, "That's not even old," and it's like, "Yeah, I get it." So,
I was listening to NPR today, and Bob Dorr came on, and he's like, "Yeah, send requests in. Just got to be 25 years or older." And I was like, "Wow, that's not all that far ago."
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I can request Nirvana. I can. You can almost like request like first album Limp Bizkit or something. If you wanted to.
Yeah, you could.
I don't recommend it. Be nice to Bob Dorr, everyone.
Like Picasso says, just because I don't doesn't mean I can't.
No.
So I'm gonna call up Bob Dorr and say, "Hey, could you play me some of that Fred Durst?"
Fred Durst. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Anybody seen what Fred Durst looks like recently? This isn't like a music news podcast, but that's also pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Like the Sabotage video from the Beastie
That's
Boys.
exactly
Extra.
what I was gonna say. Yeah, it looks like he was like a stunt double in the Sabotage music video.
I don't think that's real though. Do you think it's a wig? Right? He's just trying to be.
I don't know.
Facetious doesn't work in this instance, but
No.
like he's trying to be funny.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It is hilarious listening to Limp Bizkit lyrics come out of that person's face. Like,
oh God, it'd be like listening to Two Live Crew now. Like they're in their wheelchairs and they're like the most vulgar, like sexist stuff. Two Live Crew. Remember back in the day?
I never listened to any of it.
Pop that P word. Pop that P word.
No. Sorry, never.
Yeah, could you imagine that now? Because they're like 72.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
Uh-huh.
Just out there, just raunchy rapping it. That'd be
like
funny.
bum fights, just.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. That's like I was like trying to find a place to wind this down. I don't know if we should wind it down on bum fights.
I could exit on a bum fight.
Oh my gosh. Well, where can people find all your information? Clint Riedel Facebook page.
Actually, you've helped me out so much throughout anything that I've done on the social media aspect. You're probably better off telling them because I forget to mention Bandcamp's a thing.
Yep.
You can find it there. I just came across an old post. I'm on Spotify but I'm not supposed to mention that because it's free. Apple Music, Amazon Music, and
Google Play.
Otherwise, just YouTube and stuff like. You recorded a couple videos for me that turned out really slick. Honestly, thank you for that.
Yeah, I saw those are all over 5,000 or 6,000 views or something like that on Facebook.
Very nice,
so
very nice.
It'd be nice to push those babies on Facebook here or there. But that's. I mean, I've always been someone that's kind of tried to help people out. I mean, obviously I have a podcast or whatever, but as far as people like in the local scene where it's just like you should probably have a Facebook page that's dedicated to this. It might not hurt to, make a dedicated Instagram or dedicated YouTube or,
Well, if you were just like the local plug-in dude, like if you were the DJ downtown, which Josh Mason, I love you for everything you do for local music as well. Just like, but in charge of that scene, like, hey man, here's your Thursday podcast about where everybody's playing this weekend. Like tune into that and figure out.
I had thought about doing that for a while. At least like making something, because there are a few places around Iowa that do that. I think one of them's called Music Builder. I think one of them is called the Iowa Music Scene. But yeah, there's like a handful of different ones around that do that. Something to that extent where they'll put out a little blurb somewhere where like, this is who's playing around the
and
area
if it was
here.
consistent,
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have to have like better contact with the bands, because hunting down everyone's stuff is not always easy. Like I said before, like not everyone updates their Facebook page with where they're going to be or tells everyone,
I'm guilty.
And I mean, hell, I play with Jesse, and Jesse's guilty of it, and I get it though too. Some of them are private shows where like we played at the Moose, where it's like you could come to the Moose if you're not a member, but they very much prefer you to be a member if you want to come to the Moose. So much so to the fact where, guess what? Like the doors are locked and you need a card to get in anyways. So like,
I remember playing at the Moose and I see Jesse come walking up with his guitar, like go to open the door and walk into it. And I'm playing at the time and I can see it. I was like, somebody let my friend in. And yeah, so I'll be playing there, I think the 24th this month.
Yeah, they're starting to do music every now and then. I saw that.
Yep. Coming back, man. That COVID thing was tough for 4 months, and then gangbusters. Like, I have been so busy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people around the area have been very busy. Not just in the area though, too. I mean, you've been traveling out of the area. Jeremy has. Chris Carr has. I mean, Tank Anthony's been in and out of the area here. I mean, he's not necessarily...
Sure, yeah, everybody's bopping around because there's so many spots that are like, we can get together, let's.
Yep, yeah, exactly, so... once again, if there's people out there that don't want to go to shows, that's fine. You don't have to go to shows. But
pick and choose whatever your comfort level is.
Yeah, but there's places to go, so... I guess just check out Clint online. I'll put links down below. There's Bandcamp. There's places to buy the music as well as listen to it online if you subscribe to music listening apps of sorts. So go check it out. And anything else?
No, just thank you for what you're doing, man. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
There's another episode in the bank. Man, good to sit down and talk with Clint. I sit and talk with him a lot anyways, so I guess, it's kind of fun to just record some of it and throw it out there for you guys to listen to. If you guys are looking to be on the podcast, hit me up. I've got a lot of people that kind of express interest and then kind of back out. But if you guys want to be on the podcast, I'll do my best to make my schedule meet up with your schedule somewhere, and we'll make it work. So hit me up. I can do internet style stuff if anybody wants to just do them over the internet too. So I'm always looking for podcast guests, just as much as I am looking for gigs to go to and all that other good stuff. So if you guys are looking to support the podcast, you can do it monetarily by going to the Patreon page. It's $1 a month. You get video versions of the podcast. We teased it in this episode a little bit. I think I might come out with another show. I've been debating it, for like the last year that I've had the Patreon channel, and I've had different ideas kind of come and go, and I just haven't really figured out the best ways to go about recording them or doing them. So I think I've got a couple ideas. So yeah, maybe check that out if you're interested in something like that. Otherwise, you can always buy an Audible Farm t-shirt. There's keychains, there's stickers, and there's all sorts of goodies at the Audible Farm shop. Go to shop.audiblefarm.com. Shop.audiblefarm.com. I don't know, that kind of sounded bushmouthy. But yeah, go to shop.audiblefarm.com and check out what we got there. There's all sorts of goodies there available. The t-shirts, the new design of t-shirts that have been selling like hotcakes. I think the newness is finally worn off. The first batch sold out like I think in 5 days, and this one's taken a little bit longer, but it is also a slightly larger batch with some bigger sizes and things like that. So got a lot of people saying you don't have t-shirts for real big guys, and it's like, I sure do. I've got the gray shirts in the big sizes. So if you guys are looking for bigger shirts, hit me up. I do also have a couple extra large and a couple of varieties of the bigger shirts, or of the new shirts available. So the new style shirts, there are some bigger sizes, but it depends on how big you want. 2X is the biggest I've got in those, and I've only got a couple, and I know I sold one last week. So if you're looking for shirts, they're there. Otherwise, guess what? The podcast is always free. You can support non-monetarily by listening. You're doing that right now. You can also support non-monetarily by liking and subscribing and sharing. And word of mouth is another really good way. It works really well, believe it or not. So check that out. Otherwise, that's pretty much all I've got for you this week. Hit me up if you guys want to be on the podcast. Go to audiblefarm.com. Scroll to the bottom. There's a little form there you can fill out. Somebody filled it out, I think last week, and I got to get back to them. So if you guys are looking to be on the podcast, hit me up there. Otherwise, I will check you guys all out next week with another guest. All right. Peace.